Hex Crawls, the Dungeons Without Walls. We're going to talk about adding a small hex crawl to a standard D&D adventure, and we're starting right now. Welcome to the Dungeon Master's Apprentice, and I'm your friendly neighborhood Dungeon Master. Here at the Dungeon Master's Apprentice, we work on creating the Cursed, my unique homebrew campaign world, and we also talk about having a great gaming session at the table. The winter night is dark, but the fire you are all huddled around is nice and warm. You have been in this forest clearing deep in the mountains for 3 days now, and your master still refused to tell you, their apprentices, why you had to rush to this emergency meeting of the society. Cries of alarm suddenly ring out, and what looks like a countless number of armored figures emerge from the darkness of the woods. All is bedlam, but one master runs up to your group and says, "I'm to get as many of the apprentices to safety as possible. Follow me!" And off you went, sprinting towards the tree line. Now, you, along with quite a few other apprentices, have been walking through the dark woods for hours, trying to make as little noise as possible. Along the way, the master leading your ragtag group has, in a hushed voice, explained that it was the knights of the church that attacked the camp, and that he has been tasked to lead everyone to a remote village in a mountain valley, about 100 miles southeast of the campsite. In the village of Blue Springs, the apprentices can lay low until someone can safely be sent to retrieve them. Then, to your left, torches flare to life, and 3 knights of the church with their sun-gold tabards glowing in the torchlight step forward with their swords raised. The master turns to you and screams, "Run!" Then he draws 2 short swords and turns to the knights and launches himself at them. Sound interesting? This is the introductory funnel adventure for my homebrew campaign, The Cursed. Here we have a huge gaggle of half-trained youths running for their lives. Ill-equipped, leaderless, and with only a vague idea where they need to go, the players will have to get their characters to survive the primordial forest, whether it is wild animals, the weather, or the landscape itself, all the while evading capture by the Knights of the Church. This is a survival hex crawl. When you search hex crawl in Google or YouTube, most of the search results talk about running a hex crawl campaign in a sandbox world. They give great advice about running a plotless outdoor campaign, but most have little to no information on simply having a small hex crawl as part of a standard campaign. Now, my adventure is purposefully in the untouched wilderness, far from civilization, with only a general idea on the direction the characters need to travel. But this advice will work for travel on an established road as well. 1. Fill each hex. Brainstorm ideas and come up with 6, one for each quadrant of the hex, for points of interest. They could be breathtaking vistas, or possible role-playing encounters, or even your standard random encounter. But you need to have possible things to see. Dungeons without rooms would be boring, so think of points of interest as rooms in your outdoor dungeon. 2. Give options. Just like I plan on a point of interest for each quadrant, I like to have a choice for the border of each quadrant. Does the road fork? Does a game trail lead off to the left? It looks like you could ford the river here. Is a dungeon without T-intersections or hallways with only a single door boring? Room, short hallway, room, rinse and repeat. It's never any fun, so don't do the outdoor equivalent. 3. Introduce loops, dead ends, and obstructions. Has a rockfall blocked the road? Has snowfall made the mountain pass impossible to traverse? Did the trail you are following end in an impenetrable wall of thorny brambles? How about the old cliche of winding up at the edge of a sheer cliff, or simply ending in a box canyon? Create the outdoor equivalent of one-way or locked doors, looping hallways, and secret passages. Number 4, use vignettes. This is, to me, what sets an outdoor hex crawl apart from other types of adventures. Vignettes are small, independent scenes that can be completely independent or can be part of some larger plot. The key word here is independent. Each vignette could be hours or days apart, and you don't need to roleplay the tedium between. When the characters are exploring down a long hallway in a dungeon, every turn is played out, checking for traps and secret passages, relighting torches, or taking the time to map out the location. It's integral to the feel of being deep inside a dangerous location. Not so much when traveling down a long, dusty road. In books, movies, and TV, travel is broken down into scenes where something happens, even if it's just an interesting conversation between the characters. So take a page out of their book and only show the interesting bits. Well, these are the 4 things I do when I want to add a little bit of hex crawling into an otherwise standard campaign. I hope you enjoyed the 4 things I do to prepare for a hex crawl during an adventure. I hope you liked the brief introduction to my introductory funnel as well. If you did enjoy, please hit the like button. And of course, any suggestions you have would be greatly appreciated. So don't forget to leave a comment. I hope you come back for the next installments where I continue fleshing out my campaign world and discuss other Dungeon Mastery related topics. Now, if you're enjoying this journey with me, please consider subscribing to this channel. If you do, don't forget to click the bell icon to get notified every time new content is posted. Until then, adventure on!